Hello friends, welcome to the lecture on subroutines. Today we are going to see the inbuilt subroutines that are available in Perl. There are three subroutines which are available in Perl, which are begin, end and auto load. We'll see each one of them and we'll see how exactly this can be used and how they actually get executed when we write them in the scope of our program. So let us first understand what do we mean by begin. So begin is basically a subroutine. If this is being written inside a Perl program, it tells the Perl compiler to first execute this particular subroutine before executing any of these statements. So whatever is there inside begin would get executed before the start or the execution of program. So it would be a great idea if you want to actually define some variables or do some initial part of coding, like let's say some setting of some paths, etc., inside this begin block. So let's say we'll simply say print this is the first line of our program. Okay, and now what we'll do is we'll quickly go ahead and close this particular loop or close this begin block, and before this we'll say print this is second line. Okay, so now if we go ahead and execute this particular piece of code, let's see what exactly the output would look like. So this is the script name. Now if you see, this is the first line of our program. So even if this line was written before the begin block, Perl has encountered begin, so it has executed whatever was there inside the begin block. That was this particular statement, and then it went ahead and executed this particular statement. So similarly, if you want to see how exactly it works, like after the begin block, if we write a statement saying this is third line, so let's see what exactly the output would look like. So as said, we got this, then as this was the control went at the start of the program, that was this particular line was executed, and then so on and so forth. So this is how begin works. Now we have something called as end block or the end subroutine. So this particular subroutine is executed right at the end. So before the program terminates or before there is any kind of uh, termination of execution in the program, this particular end block would get executed. So let's say even if we go ahead and use break statements, or for that matter we just exit from the particular Perl program, the end block will still be executed. So end is basically getting executed whenever the program is terminated, whether it gets terminated in the right way or it gets terminated abruptly or by any signal, the end block will get executed. So here I would say print end block. I'll simply say print end block. Okay, and now what we'll do is we'll go ahead and execute this particular piece of code. Okay, we'll write something print this is the last statement. Okay, now if we go ahead and execute this particular program, you can see, okay, we have got an error here because I've missed a semicolon. Now we can, I think my file has been closed, so I'm quickly opening the file. Oops. So now what we can do is we can quickly execute this program. So now you can see the last statement was executed previous to the end block. So always the end block would get executed before uh, before the termination of the program. Now, as I said, we'll simply see how it works when we call an exit statement. So after the third line, an exit statement is called. Now we'll execute the program. So now you can see, even though exit was called here, this statement has not got executed, but the end block has got executed. So the program terminated here, but the Perl encountered an end subroutine or the end block, and hence it executed this, and then it didn't come back at any of the statements after the exit statement. So this is how the end subroutine works. Now what is auto load subroutine? So the auto load subroutine says that in case there is a function which is not defined in Perl and is being called, that particular subroutine can be handled using the auto load subroutine. So let us see how exactly it will work. So I would say print subroutine. This is the inbuilt variable, that is $auto load. Print $auto load. Subroutine is not defined. Okay. And if in case there are any parameters that were passed to this subroutine which is not yet defined, you can get those parameters from our evergreen @_array. Parameters passed to subroutine are @_. So this is how you can get these parameters. Now let's say I'll quickly define, or I'll quickly call a subroutine which is not there in our program. So let's say not there, and I would pass some parameters to it. Okay. Now I'll quickly execute this particular piece of code. You can see there is an execution error or a compilation error. Why exactly this has happened? So auto load is always part of your package. In this case, my package is nothing but main. So I'll simply say $main auto load. So this is how you will always call your auto load variable. So now if you see, okay, I'm sorry, I'll quickly remove this exit statement. Now you can see when we executed this particular piece of code, after the last statement, we had called our subroutine that is not there. So as the subroutine was not encountered and this was handled using autoload, so Perl didn't give me an error saying the reference to a subroutine is incorrect or something like that, or a compilation error. It was handled in a correct way. So we got few of the information that we had desired to actually output on the screen. So it says subroutine main not there, is not defined. Parameter passed to subroutine are 10, 10, 20. So this is what we actually called, or this is what we made a reference to a subroutine which wasn't there. And because of the auto load, it actually caught this particular error and it gave us the user defined error that we had written here inside the autoload function. So this is very useful when you build large Perl programs or large Perl scripts where you are playing around with modules and object oriented programming. It is always a good idea to have an autoload function, or even for that matter, let's say you are having a particular Perl file where you are just having a lot of subroutines or definitions defined inside a subroutine. Inside the main, you can always have these three blocks: begin, end, and autoload. This would always help you to catch errors in case they are induced due to spellings which do not match or any of those reasons. So I would always prefer to add begin blocks, end blocks, and the autoload function or the autoload subroutine. Remember, whenever you call the autoload, if it's inside the main package, then just use $main and dereference it using the scope resolution operator. If in case you're calling the autoload function inside a package, make sure you have this as a or this main replaced by the package name. So this is how you can use the autoload function. This brings us to the end of our subroutine lecture, and I'll see you guys at the next lecture. Thank you.